Hello and welcome, welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Carla, it looks like everybody has made it over. Wonderful.
Yay. This is great. Well, we're so excited to get to know you.
Yes, definitely we are. I want to introduce myself a little bit more. You've had a chance to meet Carla and hear from her. And then we're going to start this collective session with some introductions of your own. And I'll explain how to do that. I love that we have a group that is sized in such a way that we can actually have some discussion that's meaningful to you. So during the next 35 minutes of time together, I hope you will anticipate being, off your mute some and sharing and discussing. We all are going to face similar challenges as nonprofit leaders. And then some of us may have unique challenges that maybe we could use the sharpness of the different chords braided together in sisterhood and brotherhood to help maybe work through some things that we're currently dealing with. So I'm glad to host this breakout session. My name is John Sullivan. Jeff Hensley introduced me as a specialist that works with nonprofits and Christian schools. I would add the only thing I'm a real specialist in is dad jokes. Rebecca, who you will see, who is online with us too, she and I had a fun chat just preparing the room for when you come on. And I will save my dad jokes maybe for the end if we get that desperate. So let's do this. I'm looking at the order of my screen. We will hear from Corey, Dean, Pathways, and then Quincy. Pathways, I don't have your name. If you want to kind of customize your screen to include your name, that would be helpful so that we know who you are. And here's what I would like to do. I would like to give everybody about 60 seconds to introduce yourself, where you're from, the name of your organization, and your mission. So you can practice your elevator speech if you want to, because you've got a short amount of time to tell us what it is you do and how you go about doing it. And then the final two pieces of introduction, I would like for you to name a victory in the last 6 months. Maybe it's a development victory, maybe it's just a full organization victory, but one victory and one pain point. Okay, so I'm going to go over those again, and then they will be in the chat to help you know how to do that introduction. Again, name and location, name of your organization and its mission, and then one victory and one pain point. So you can all come off mute when it's your turn, and then we will get started with you, Corey.
Great, thanks, John. So I'm Corey. I'm with Christianity Today. And I live in our offices are in the western suburbs of Chicago. So maybe some of you are looking out your window to a lot of snow right now. There's a lot of snow coming down. I am the development director at CT, and our mission is to elevate the storytellers and the sages of the global church. We do that through journalism and media commentary. And let's see, a victory is, we had a lot to celebrate last year. We've only been, we've been a nonprofit, I've been around for 60 plus years, but really have only had a development operation for 7 years. And we're just seeing a lot of growth, and kind of looking at the key metrics that we follow closely. We really beat them all last year. So we're still trying to celebrate what we did last year and also turning attention to this year. A pain point is probably everyone can relate. We need more staffing help. We've engaged Generis for some of that as we're starting our first campaign, and another a group as well in the area of foundations, just to kind of help with some of those before we can hire a full-time person.
Wonderful. Congratulations to those things. What a wonderful introduction. Corey, if you want to put in the chat your email address so that we can form maybe some community and connection here, we'll have everybody do that as well. Okay, next.
I'll go next. My name is Dean Hampton. I'm in Bozeman, Montana, and I'm the executive director at Rock Wheels. And what we do is we have specialized wheelchairs for children, and we take them to less developed countries and donate them, and we fit them to children. We get them all set up into wheelchairs, and we give them away. So we just got back from Mexico in Mazatlan, had a great time there. We gave away, I think, about 46 chairs, and just life-changing for those kids and those families. So it was a blessing to be a part of it. A victory would be our overall, last year, we raised more funds from our existing donors, which was great. We worked with Jennifer. She did a phenomenal job helping us in all those areas. I think one of our areas of opportunity this year is just to reach out to larger donors. That's an area that we just don't have. We don't have any large donors, so we want to create that. So that's kind of where we're at.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dean. What a beautiful mission that you guys have, and congratulations on the big successes. Okay, let's hear from, is it Quincy next or Dean, or for Dana?
I can go, or it's
Yes.
all right.
Go ahead,
You
Quincy.
got the mic, go with it.
Awesome. Well, appreciate it. Good afternoon to everyone, or morning. My name is Quincy Sanders. I'm the development manager here at Street Code Academy. I'm located in Sunnyvale, California, which is Bay Area, San Jose, San Francisco area, heart Silicon Valley. And in Street Code Academy, what we do is we offer free tech education to, low income, underserved BIPOC communities, mainly within the Bay Area, and as of most recently expanding out to Southern California, and actually across the country at this point. But for us, one of many goals and missions that we have here specifically is to really try to bridge the gap, the digital divide within the country, but mainly in underserved BIPOC communities, specifically where we are anchored and located, headquartered in East Palo Alto, California, which is a small community surrounded by tech, surrounded by the bubble, surrounded by Silicon Valley, but a community who doesn't feel like they belong within that space. And so our main goal is to give soft introductions to tech and the possibilities within that for employment, for growth, and ultimately innovation and generational wealth in these communities. So we really we focus on three main categories. You see on my shirt, hack hustle design, hacking being the coding piece of that, coding all things tech when it comes to creation, hustle, which is the entrepreneurial side of how you integrate entrepreneurship with tech availabilities and innovations, and the design piece of it is more hands-on, makerspace, robotics type things. So we give soft intros to the people in the communities for free. We have students as young as 4 and students as old as early 70s, depending on what they're looking to do. And so that's one of our main goals. As far as our one victory, this last 6 months we've actually had a lot of cool things happen for our organization. But one of the main things I would say is we were awarded Nonprofit of the Year by our state senator in our district, Josh Becker. So that was huge for us. We've only been an organization for 5 years. So this year we actually also celebrated our 5-year anniversary, which was huge for us and a huge validation for what we do within our communities. Pain points is really trying to figure out how we can continue to engage with major donors, but also figure out ways in which we can self-sustain the resources that we need for our organization. And one of the things that we've done in the past, also victory of the last 6 months, was launching the first ever PNFT, which is a philanthropic NFT campaign series that we did for the community, and generated, not a ton of funds, but it got them a soft intro also into that space and that technology, and really opened everyone's eyes for the opportunities for innovation and generational wealth within PNFT. So yeah.
That's beautiful, Quincy. I celebrate those victories with you as well. Carla, I'm hearing some common threads. I think you are too. We might be a group
Absolutely.
interested in major gifts and looking to
Yes.
sustain some long-term things. Great. Dean and Quincy, if y'all will put your emails in the chat for us to be able to follow up, that would be wonderful. Let's hear from Christina. Are you ready?
Yes, so my name is Christina Kutzmasker. I'm the Executive Director of Pathways Unplanned Pregnancy Help Center in Northeastern Pennsylvania. What we do is we provide empowerment for people that are making their decision of what to do with their pregnancy. So it's life affirming and healthy choices regarding their sexual, spiritual, and relational matters. The actual things that we do are super detailed. I'm not going to get into all of that, but that is the core of what we do. And we really come around and support people who are in unplanned pregnancies to help them know what their options are, and then navigating life after their decisions are made. As far as our victory, I just took this position back in June, so I'm still pretty new, trying to get as much wisdom as I possibly can into my life. That I actually don't come from a pregnancy center background, so there's a lot for me to learn. But as far as our victories, we are working on becoming a medical clinic and to provide ultrasounds in-house, and we are like one step away from that. So it's a huge change. This organization has been here for the past 10 years, and they've been going since 2019 trying to make this a reality. And so we are just, it's 99.9% sure it's happening this year, and it's just so incredible. But with that, we do need more staffing, more volunteers, and absolutely donor acquisition. I mean, we're with more things that we provide, we are a complete nonprofit. Everything we do is 100% free for our clients, so we need to make sure that we can provide those funds for each area of our program. So I'd say that is our main challenge right now, would be the donor acquisition and staffing for sure.
That's a common thread throughout. And
yeah.
So we touched on it, but we'll have deeper conversations.
I love this. I love this. I'm hearing over and over, our work is life-changing. Why don't we do that one more time, Dana? I want to hear from you. Where are you from? Introduce yourself, and how are you changing lives with your organization?
Hi, I'm Dana, and I work for Seed Company, which, if you all are familiar with Wycliffe Bible Translators, we are an affiliate. I'm located, the headquarters is located in Arlington, Texas, and our mission is to accelerate scripture translation and the impact for people without God's word through Great Commission partnerships, which is just a fancy way of saying we do Bible translation through a model that works with people in the field through partnership. So there you go. Victory this year has been interesting. We've had to change how basically our infrastructure so that we can support our major donors. So we've kind of had an overhaul of how we do reporting. I bet there's some pain points here too. Reporting, how we report impact, how we tell the story. It's been a culture shift, to be honest, but we've started on the path, and it's messy, but it's awesome. And we're doing something right because we raised $36 million the first quarter, and we have a $54 million goal this year. So, I mean, we'll tell you it's God, because we are a mess sometimes, but we're doing some right things right. So I don't mean to sound that way. We've been around for a while. Our pain points are super familiar. Acquisition is always for everybody, staff, capacity, that's always kind of been an issue. But we need some younger donors. Our folks are starting to age out. I don't think we have a really good plan for planned giving, for the information that was shared, like the 70-year-olds who are like, where do I put my IRA money? We just don't address that, you guys, and it's crazy. So those are some pain points for us.
That's low-hanging fruit. Good. I'm glad you're seeing
right? That. Yeah. Anyway, but part of it's capacity. We've all said that. We don't have time to address it, right? That's what we always say, but we can't not anymore. So anyway.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, now that Carla has taken a sip of water and maybe got her settled after her presentation, Carla, will you do your introduction and then maybe help us with our first question? And that question is very familiar. The fundraising environment is changing, and we have all alluded to our own experiences in that. The question is general and out there. How do organizations keep up? So if you will do your introduction and then launch us into that discussion, that would be great.
Absolutely, John. Well, I'm Carla Maxwell Ray, as you know, and I'm right outside of DC in Silver Spring, Maryland. However, I service clients all over the country, and I am just very humbled to meet you all. In our discussions, if you could, one of you mentioned that you're working with Jennifer. I believe Dean mentioned that, but I'd like to hear who else each one of you have worked with or are working with. And if no one, let us know. As we heard through the trends for 2022, major donor acquisition is huge. And it's such an opportunity to expand your major donor portfolio. So how do you do that? What does that involve? Well, many of you, obviously, with a goal of 54 million, are used to the major donor acquisition and may just need to ratchet it up since you've been able to acquire all these first-time donors. But there's one core thing that lots of entities that are well-established miss. And that is really looking at the wealth analysis. So actually going in as our clients, you have access to donor search, and Rebecca is the liaison to donor search. And it is a tremendous, insightful way. So some of you have Razor's Edge that has a wealth component, but I hear it isn't very robust. And so connecting with us and actually getting a wealth analysis that measures not only the capacity of the individual and their engagement level, but also their propensity to give to your organization. And that will help prioritize your work. When you're short on staff, you definitely have to focus. And major donor acquisition is focus. And so you may remember the Lord telling Gideon when he came with 10,000 men, okay, that's nice. And of course we celebrate 10,000 men, right? But in the end, after several scriptures later, Gideon got down to the 300 and the victory was won. So when we look at our goals, especially financial goals, we need to focus on major donor acquisition. And one secondary step to doing that is donor analysis. And that's the donor analytics and the wealth screening. And that's where Generis can help you understand it, because a lot of you may have access to it, but don't understand the reports or how to build strategies around the reports. Yes. So I'll just start there to plant the seed, because I heard that acquisition talk. And then I'll talk a little bit later on about first-time givers and actually retaining them, because that's where we really have to smack our hands. So may I hear something from each one of you?
So I'll go. So basically, in the ministry that I'm in, there are like tried and true things that we do with local churches and Christian businesses to raise money. I'm really trying to break out of that and go into a bigger donor pool other than just our local churches. So for me, I definitely don't have a budget like Dana. I will say we're a small center.
Yes.
Quite intimidated right now. But
don't be. We have things. Yeah, don't be. We started way lower. So anyways,
yeah. So yeah, no, it's fine. So we're like, there's things that we already have, practices that we have been doing for the past 10 years that have shown to be great and beneficial, but really working to grow that is where I'm at right now and get into things that we haven't thought of yet.
Yeah, that's a really, really good process you're thinking through there, Christina. I just finished a blog, or I guess a video blog post that will be coming out this year with Generis that all of you will have access to and can see. There are two main points in donor acquisition, maybe for you to think about in that, and then I want to hear from Quincy and Dean as well on their ideas for this. But a lot of organizations use their events for revenue, and there's not a problem with that. It takes a lot of energy and labor on your staff to do a big event like a golf scramble or a 5K. One of the things I encourage our partners to do is to leverage their events and have their goals for the events to be donor acquisition. So where the focus could be, the full revenue or the net revenue, maybe using your events to be networking centers and be opportunities for you to grow those individuals at the top of the funnel who will be the first time donors to your organization. That's one that's just kind of easy to do, is to refocus your events. The other one is not as easy, but it comes with for me, a fun way to think about how to grow your donor base and acquiring new donors. Are we all familiar with the Kevin Bacon, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon game? Have you heard of this? Do you remember? This is so silly. It's a little parlor game. But the reality is, if I were to try to connect this actor and this actress by way of Kevin Bacon, the reality is it all relies on Kevin Bacon's network. Kevin Bacon has a pretty big network. He's worked with a lot of people. The analogy in this is your organization has its own network where typically the center of that network is the organization itself. Maybe it's your executive director. Maybe it's the longest tenured staff member or your board. Maybe even it's potential members of your board that form the nucleus of that network. Okay. I want you to imagine if we were to play 7 Degrees of Jojo Siwa, or 7 Degrees of Kirk Douglas. I hope you're smiling. It's a different game, isn't it? The network changes, and just by moving the center of that network helps you explore network partners maybe that you haven't explored before. And so, Christina, what I would say to you and to others, taking that model, taking your 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, and instead of playing that, maybe play 6 degrees of a different actor or actress. Imagine your organization's network where the center moves. Move that center to a donor. Move that center to one of your longest standing vendors or someone who has been a partner, and have them help you flesh out a new network of opportunities and individuals who, just like you and them, care greatly about your organization. When you move your middle in this way, move your center in this way, I want you to think that you're really one handshake away of a new network of donors and individuals that maybe you hadn't thought about before. It's a little longer of a contribution that I wanted to provide because I want to hear from others, but those are 2 quick ways to reimagine your donor network in a way that serves you in maybe novel ways. Dean, Quincy, maybe you guys come off mute, and whoever wants to jump in first. Donor acquisition for your organizations, what are your strategies?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dean, I cut you off coming on, but yeah, I mean, it's funny because the things you just spoke about are kind of the 2 main things we talked about as a team this week. We're heading into, we have a small budget. We're looking at trying to raise 3.1 million this year, which is a little bit over what we did last year. Yeah, we talked about kind of what we wanted to do moving into the calendar year, as far as focusing on major donor acquisition. And, we come to a point where, our CEO was the center of all fundraising. All major donors kind of were his contacts, which was great. But him now being on a 1-year kind of a personal professional sabbatical, we've been kind of forced to figure out other ways outside of his immediate circle of donors. So, we talked about how, we're going to start doing more events and how we can tie that into donor acquisition. We talked about how we can tap into our board and make, tap into their resources and their networks a little bit more than we have previously. We have an amazing board and they have amazing networks, and I think we need to utilize that a little bit more. And we also talked about peer-to-peer fundraising. we have a ton of great instructors. A lot of the folks that work for the organization have their own networks. And so really using, as an organization, everyone's efforts to, pitch into, getting the resources that we need to continue and grow the organization in the ways that we want to in the coming years. We'll have our CEO back soon, so at the end of the summer, but, we're excited about the challenge to really see how we can grow this on our own, organically. And so events, board connections, and peer-to-peer fundraising is really some of the things that we're focusing on, at least in this first quarter, moving into the second quarter.
Yeah, that's a unique pain point that you're working through with just not having your director right now. That's great. Dean with Rock Wheels, and then Corey, maybe you could be up next with Christianity Today. What are you thinking, Dean?
Yeah, it's probably our biggest struggle right now, because we're absolutely, if you were talking to Jennifer, she has really helped us to rebuild our financial situation. And donor acquisition, large donor acquisition, I'll focus on that. We have restructured the board. We brought in a lot of new people, and trying first and foremost to have a culture. If you're on the board, you either are a giver or a getter, someone who can write a check, someone who can go out and get checks. But there's that culture that needs to be, finances, whether we like it or not, are oxygen to nonprofits. It's just, that's how we survive.
Yes.
So we are in the middle of networking a lot. There's a lot of money in Bozeman. There's a lot of money about an hour away in Big Sky. And it's a matter of, I don't know if that's the right way of putting it, it's a matter of being able to fish in the right ponds. Because there's people tend to group together, and to be able to identify and build relationships with people in those. We have a great product, if you want to put it in that way. And it's, like I said, we just got back from Mexico, and we have an incredible story of life's changing within an hour. And people resonate with that. So we've just got to build networks and relationships. And I think for us, really identifying people who will resonate with what we do, and then being able to communicate in a focused, clear, compelling way in building our relationships. And we will be doing smaller events and then a large event later to get that message out. But I think for around here, being highly relational tends to be the best. And it's just being able to meet people and show them what you do.
There's nothing better you or your staff could do with their time, Dean. That's great. You said something. There's a lot of money in Bozeman. Corey, there's a lot of money in Chicagoland, and Dana, there's a lot of money in Arlington, Dallas area. So I'd love to hear from you guys, maybe Corey first and then Dana as well. What does that look like? Major donor acquisition. We're hearing already some great strategies from others, how they're doing that.
And Corey, before you go, I just wanted to comment, Dean, you are right on target. Having intimate gatherings, and when I say intimate, about a dozen or so individuals, couples, and from 8 to 12 individual couples, where you have the opportunity to get to know each other and to build the relationship, is so important. The big events, the ROI is not as great. So those intimate gatherings are really, the ROI is huge. And also, don't forget the virtual. Because of the pandemic, we really have an excuse to connect virtually. And on our website, I did a blog and a talk on virtual events. So you can go and refer to that, so that you have an outline, and it has a downloadable, intimate outline for all of our nonprofits to benefit from.
Thanks, Carla. I actually look forward to reading that about virtual events. We have integrated those the last couple of years, and do both kind of small roundtables with 10 or 12, 15 people, geared toward really getting feedback around what we know are their special interests with what we do. And then we do kind of larger events, which are more sort of like a webcast sort of thing, giving up ministry updates and things like that. And both have proven, I think, really effective for us. We hear like that's why people have given, or moving people from a certain level of relationship to a higher level of relationship. So let's see, we're in a little bit of an interesting place in that we have members to our magazine and resources, tens of thousands of them, but a lot of them have no idea, or don't think of us as a place to give. So it's moving people up in kind of the knowledge of that and kind of a journey of that, and in putting that communication in our magazine and in things we send to them, and through our digital things like email and socials. So yeah, we're not the issue isn't like going out to try to find new people anyway. It's trying to let the people we have know. So that's been that's an interesting I think area for us. What else was I going to say about that? And then as far, I mean, because we have tens of thousands of people, in some ways it's hard to know who to invite to events or who to request a meeting from. And so we've had to rely really heavily on well screening and predictive analytics. And that helps really narrow the pool down from, tens of thousands to maybe, hundreds. And I've found over the last 2 years, people are much more understanding and interested in doing a quick Zoom meeting just to get to know people and to get to know us and our vision. And it's a lot more economical than flying all over the country anyway. So so our model has changed there a little bit.
And then having some type of midpoint level of giving. It's a leadership annual gift, but it isn't a major gift. We'll just give you a cultivation, a holding place where people can easily reach with some stretch.
That's been really, really helpful for us to do that.
Yes.
That mid-level gift, we have a giving circle around $1,000, and
yes, that's right.
Seeing
Good.
great growth and excitement around that.
That's fantastic. Dana Arlington, you have an interesting set of donors too. You are working probably in the thousands of donors and even subscribers, similar to what Corey with Christianity Today is doing. Share a little bit about donor acquisition strategies. You shared that it was a pain point and you're looking specifically for a younger donor base. And I bet several of us could probably nod our heads and say, oh yeah, me too. That would be great. So can you come off mute and share a little bit about what that looks like at Seed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually draw nationally. So we have fundraisers sitting in various cities. So that's also kind of an interesting thought y'all might want to know. Right now, our acquisition strategy is, I'm glad we're on point with, we work with people who are major donors and really network out from there. Like you said, isolate, focus, work with the networks. And that really, honestly, this is way before my time, has been a backbone of Seed Company. Our founder started with 10 families giving $10,000 and then asking their friends.
That's right.
Put it out of a broom closet. So yeah, please be encouraged. So that I think Seed Company's done a good job with, right? I think though we're having to ramp it up because honestly, the vast majority of our giving probably sits with 10% of our donors, and you can do the math on that and realize if one of them goes away, we are hurting. So we're backfilling into our major donor level. We actually are working on a mid-level strategy, and we even have broad-based, which I wouldn't call a strategy. I would call it like, that's where we put everybody where we don't know where to put them, right? Okay, so we're working on all that, but man, you guys hit the nail on the head. We're also doing events. But I think one of our bigger pain points is we finally got down to where they need to be more intimate events. We need to use our advocates to invite people in. We're using wealth screening to, like I said, when we get names in the door, who do we put on caseloads, who do we pursue, and who do we spend time? But one is convincing our board and our leaders that acquisition is a good ROI strategy. It's not always just dollars in the door. It's a long range strategy, right? So, and I mean, I think they're open to it, but I don't know if we've done a convincing job, our argument. And then we do use donor search for everything, like I said, but honestly, y'all, you've got to have addresses and some contact information to run that. And it's getting all that when we're holding these larger scale events that are kind of more typical acquisition events. Yeah, we're failing.
Dana, don't bring up the ugly data. And
I know, I'm sorry. We love donor search because it's saved us so many times. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay.
It's so true. Your efforts and strategies are as good as your data. And that brings up a whole nother set of questions, that's a funny word. Set of questions is utilizing your data to bless your organization and to benefit you. And you're right, having just that basic information of addresses for organizations that aren't maybe central in a smaller location. I say smaller, like Northeast Pennsylvania it's not small, but Christina, your donor base, you have the joy of being able to touch most of them. And Quincy and Corey and Dana, I'm imagining that your donor base is so global and so large that getting down to 12 for an intimate event like Carla mentioned is probably different than choosing the 12 that will have the biggest impact. Jesus chose 12, and some of you are probably thinking, what are the right 12? And some of you are probably thinking, how can I get down to 12? Isn't that interesting? We do have about 3 or 4 minutes left. Carla brought up a couple of things for us to consider with those events. I hear you all talking a lot about narrative storytelling and how the mission is only as good as you can communicate that and have a compelling reason. And I've also heard enough in this conversation, board work matters. The give or get, or PANIS is for W's, finding board members who really move the needle forward, I think I've heard come up a lot. And Carla, maybe giving you and I some real helpful feedback on what to think about next in some of these future events. And so Rebecca is still online. She's going to put on there the Generis alumni page link for you to continue to follow and subscribe there. Carla, I will mute for a second and give you the opportunity to wrap us up. You have such a good gift of summary, and here's what I've heard, and I think we could all be blessed by that today.
Well, John, thank you. And I tell you, John Sullivan is a rock star. So he adds richly to the conversation. It's just a privilege to come before you, knowing that you've worked with our colleagues and that your organizations have been lifted up. Dana, we didn't talk about the donor acquisition of younger donors. We are in a unique season in that younger donors are engaging like never before. So it is, especially with the online and the virtual world that we're in. And we could talk about Web 3.0 and all that. That's a whole new avenue. However, we as nonprofit leaders need to take advantage of this opportunity to engage the digital audience in a very effective way. So that's something that we didn't have time to talk about, but we definitely want to join together and engage in a discussion that elevates what we're doing every day. And the good thing about Generis and the Total Advancement Solutions team is we're one. So you get John's brain, mine, and all of our colleagues that you work with when they come to you. So if you have a particular stumbling block, it's not just that one particular colleague in their experience, it's all of us together that are adding to the conversation. And if there's anything that John and I can do to help elevate your giving and to really enhance and make your giving more effective in 2022, today is 2/2/2022. So it's a great day to move forward. And thank you for your attentiveness and your participation.
Absolutely. I think we all know now the conversation is only getting started. So I invite you to continue to engage with us and all of our team. Look forward to the upcoming events that we send out with the Generis alumni, the Generis group of you that are current partners with us. And believe me, we're taking notes to know, hey, next conversation, we've got some things to discuss so we can continue to bless you. Why don't we close with prayer today? Father, I want to lift up to you Corey and his team at Christianity Today. I want to lift up Dean and all the work that he and his team do to help individuals be mobile again, or maybe for the first time. A blessing I ask over Rock Wheels. Father, I pray over Quincy and his team who's currently without their director, but is just grinding and getting it done. I pray for his mission of hacking, hustling, and designing, Father, for soft hearts and communities who will be receptive to the work that they're doing. We ask powerfully and trusting. Father, I pray for the young men and women, the women who are pregnant without knowing or planning for it, for the men who are part of that and the work that Christina is doing. Father, I pray a blessing over that ministry and pray that you will be Northeast PA's cool, refreshing water to young and old who are anxious and who are fretting in a time like this. Thank you for the ministry that exists there. And I pray for Christina and her team. Father, for your word that is to be read by all nations, for the work that Seed does for Dana and her team. Father, I pray that it is magnified so that in every nation and language and tongue that your word can be read and understood, because your word is sharper than any sword. Your word is life for us. And Father, we know that your word was made flesh in your son, Jesus. And so we give you praise for all of those things. Father, I just lift up this guiding thought today, how the work being done is life-changing by all of my new friends, all of Carla's new friends. I just say thank you that you are changing lives through the work of these organizations. I lift them up to you today in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome,
Very, very
thank
much.
you.
Our next section, May 4th.
Thank you.
You ever hear the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? You've heard of that before? I've never heard of that before.
Is this Christina?
Oh, yes.
Christina, you've never heard 6? Okay, we're going to do one.
Oh my gosh, am I still there?
Yes, you are.
I love it. I love it.
You are on. And
I
you know
thought I
what?
left.
I've never heard of it either, but
I have.
John is going to tell us.
That
I
was
love it.
awesome. I
Here
loved
it
it. That was
is.
great. I was over here giggling.
I think we should put Rebecca on the spot. Rebecca, can you connect George Clooney to Julia Roberts through a Kevin Bacon movie? That's an easy one.
Well, I know George Clooney and Julia Roberts they've done like Ocean's 11 and all those movies.
Yes, Tess and Danny Ocean.
Yes. And so then, with Kevin Bacon involved in that as well, in terms of with those connections. Oh, man.
Yes.
Mm.
So George Clooney and Kevin Bacon worked together in several things.
Oh, okay.
You can play from
Well,
there.
tell us, John.
Yeah.
You want me? Okay, so Flatliners. Flatliners was a movie made in the 90s. They just redid it, but the 90s version, Flatliners, Clooney and Bacon worked together. And then you can do a lot to get back to Julia Roberts, but I love how Tom Cruise and Kevin Bacon work together in Few Good Men. And then so you've got Tom Cruise and can get a number of ways to.
Oh, that's a good one. That was a good
Julia
one.
I'm not even
Roberts.
allowed to pick movies at my house. Okay. So I always pick like these awful movies. So I'm not allowed to even do that. So this game is fun, but I would be awful. I lose. I'll take
Sure.
the loss.
Well, here's the
Tina, you
real
and
meat
I.
of it. Your organization has a network But as that network extends and beyond just maybe your board and key thought leaders, as it extends, all of those people on your second, third, and fourth bands of connection, maybe they're large donors, maybe they're thought leaders, those individuals have their own networks that honestly, they may be just waiting for an invitation from you to allow their network to be a missional partner of the work that you're doing. You never know till you ask. Some people bless with their resources and finances. Others may be able to bless your organization just by sharing their network. And before you know it, you're finding new donors and individuals who want to partner with you in your work that had you not tapped into someone else's network, you never would have found.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you. And I think for the little mini session I just got to have.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you. Bye now.
Thank
Okay.
you for all that you
Bye.
do. Aw, that was great. Oh, that was
Oh,
awesome.
John, thank you for facilitating.
Yes, thank you so much.